What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, a star-studded field. There is no cut and a golf course that is probably the most recognizable on planet Earth. But before we do that, I do have to one last time beg, because this is it. The RickRunGood Splash Sports $500,000 one and done, what they call the World Championships on Splash, starts this week. There is no more time to wait. There is no more time to put this thing off. It starts right now with Pebble Beach, and I need to remind everyone, this is completely guaranteed. $500,000 is going into this purse no matter how many people sign up. Right now, there is a $275,000 overlay. That is free money. Splash is going to lose that money if we don't get there, and it's going to be very, very good for us as players. Probably won't be good for us asking for $1 million next year, but that's a discussion for later. The concept is the same as all one and dones, right? The golfer you pick for that week, you earn the amount of money that they make, and then you can only use them once throughout the year. This is a $150 buy-in. Again, there's a $275,000 overlay. No matter how many people get in, the winner of this is going to get $50,000. Second place, $25,000. Third, $10,000, so on and so forth. If you do make the money at the lowest payout, you are going to double your money. The other things that I want to point out, there are also segment prizes. So if you are struggling through the entire season, if you get hot for a segment, you can still win $5,000, for example. There are 10 payouts for each segment along the way, and you can see there are 6 different segments. Those are listed here. Splash is available in 40 plus states in the United States, most of Canada. The only place it's not available in Canada is Quebec. I know this will get a rush of people at the end with the overlay and people waiting to the last minute, but I would just love to get this thing closer to 500K. But if it doesn't, us as players are going to be just fine. So link is in the description. Go sign up. Go get cranking. Let's do this. Let's see how we can rock and roll on this all year long. Okay, let's talk about the golf course. And the golf course is, of course, Pebble Beach. Now, actually, it's 2 golf courses this week. It's not the 3-course rotation that they used to do. Now that this is a signature event and there is no cut, there's only 80 golfers, they're going to use Pebble Beach and they're going to use Spyglass Hill, but Pebble Beach is the host course here. So that's the one that we are going to talk about. That's the one that has shot link. That's the one that we have a lot more data on. And it's going to be on the extreme end of things as it comes to courses on the PGA Tour. It is very short, sub 7,000 yards, and the greens are as small as we get, 3,500 square feet on average. The other thing is, because it is so short, because the greens are small and well protected, it's not really a driver heavy golf course. So I'm actually going to just kind of skip over the key stats for a second and show you this right here. A lot of the average drives at this golf course are, the first hole, 227 yards, the fourth hole, 237, 233 on 8, a lot of 275s, a lot of 260s. You're not seeing driver be hit everywhere. And that's because there are a lot of holes where the penalty for missing the fairway, number 4, for example, is 5 times that of hitting a long drive. You do not get a real reward for hitting a long drive on number 4. You do get a massive penalty for missing the fairway. I'll show you that hole in just one second. This also means that you're going to end up hitting a lot of wedge shots. You're going to miss a lot of greens. There's going to be a lot of scrambling. This is the correlated stats for this week. There's just zero opinion in this whatsoever. This is just a stat-based model, and it just shows, quite honestly, a lot of average stats. Driving accuracy correlated to just a bit over 7/100ths of 1, which is 28th on the PGA Tour. Driving distance 25th, a lot of like low 30s, strokes gained putting 25th. So like nothing stands out there. It's a very average course from that standpoint. However, when you look at some of the other stats that end up being a little bit more important, current streak without a 3-putt, That's very, very noisy, but it's a putting stat, obviously. Scrambling from 20 to 30 yards, approaches from 75 to 100 yards, consecutive sand saves, total driving efficiency, putting from 10 to 15 feet. So those are good driving or accurate driving stats. They are wedge and inside of 100-yard shots. Those are both wedges and around the green numbers. The ability to get up and down is kind of in there, right? Consecutive sand saves, current streak, don't three-putt on these Poana greens. That's the type of golfer that we're looking for. Nobody is ruled out, but we're looking for someone who's going to play out of the fairway, who's going to hit the green, and probably have a pretty savvy short game considering the fact that you are going to miss a lot of these greens. Let's look at the satellite imagery here. And just to get an idea of this, we'll go through the first couple of holes very quickly. Here's number one, this dog leg right where everything pinches in at this fairway bunker at only 18 yards. Well, most guys are going to play to the dog leg, right? That's what we saw in the course key stats. The average drive here is only 227 yards. Well, that's about right where I've got this target laid down, and then it's going to have 150 yards in. You might see some guys try to pull drive or take it up over the corner. I don't know. They might get a little bit frisky as the day gets warmer, but for the most part, everybody is laying up there. Number two is probably one of the few driver holes that you do see early on this golf course. It's 300 yards to get to those fairway bunkers. If you could somehow carry those fairway bunkers or take them out of play, but that's a pretty big hit. But you get the idea, right? In that 300 yard range, this would be a driver hole. 3 is a great hole because you can kind of chew off as much as you want here. This is that dog leg left, or it's not really even a dog leg. It is just angled to the left at about 10 o'clock, right? If you're looking at a clock face, and you can choose to bite off any amount of this that you want. You just have to make sure that you get it in the fairway. They've got a bunker protecting kind of through a lot of the fairway. And then if you're left here, it can be a little bit awkward depending on the pin position. But I want to show you number 4, because that's the one that I was talking about earlier. And this is a really good example of what's happening out here. This is a very short par 4. It's only 330, 350 yards, depending on where they have the tees. So the average drive on number 4 is 237 yards. It is the second shortest average drive. Only 8, number 8 is a shorter average drive. And you'll see why. So guys play to this area right here. Between 205 and 265, it is going to be 60 yards wide. The only thing you really have to contend with is that little bunker on the left middle of the fairway. Otherwise, you play from there and then you hit a wedge in. There is really no reward for hitting driver here. Sure. Could you pump it up into the neck of this green? Maybe. If you miss the fairway, you might be off the cliff into the beach, into the Pacific Ocean. You might be into one of these bunkers and have like a 50-yard bunker shot. Even into the green side bunker is not necessarily a great position. There is really just no reward for hitting driver on number 8. And that's why you see a lot of guys, they know that. They are not doing it. And then here's number 8, of course. So number 8, this is where Jordan Spieth, hit the shot, almost fell into the cliff, right? Again, no point in hitting driver. You're just trying to get it up on top of the hill here and give yourself a look over the canyon. Driver is too long. If you hit it too far, it does do what Jordan Spieth, except the ball rolls in and you get into trouble. So this is the other hole where you've got the shortest average drive. So you're just not going to see a lot of drivers. You're just not going to see a lot of drivers this week. That's also shown in the data as well. And accuracy is often much more heavily rewarded than it is for driving distance. I'll take you over to the cheat sheet here for RickRunGood.com. Everything you see from this point forward will likely be my website. Giant database for golf betting and fantasy. Lots of tools, a lot of models. I'm always making updates to it. I'm a power user and I love it, and I think you'll love it too. So here's the cheat sheet, and we are going to get Scotty Scheffler back in action this week. He's $11,900. And what do we do with Scotty? He, on Christmas Day, lacerated his the palm of his right hand. It kept him out for a handful of weeks. He did not play in January for basically the first time in his career. I guess technically, he will get like some rounds in January technically, but he normally plays 2, 3, 4 times in January in his career. This is going to be the first year that he didn't. So we haven't seen him since both the Hero Roll Challenge, which he won, and the Showdown, McIlroy and Scheffler versus DeChambeau and Koepka, which he also won. For me, I'm probably not going to overthink this. I believe Scottie Scheffler is the best player in the world. I think that every golf course on planet Earth is a good one for him. He played here last year and finished T6. That was the first time this was a signature event, right? I believe that he did not rush back. You can't really rush back the palm of the hand. And Scottie is a very grip first focused golfer. If you ever see him warm up, it is grip, 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 grip. He uses that little training aid every single time. I don't think he's in a rush to get back. The other thing is that we saw him working out with it wrapped up as like 2 or 3 weeks ago, 2.5, 3 weeks ago. So he has been doing some stuff. Obviously, I know gripping a golf club is going to be different, but he was, and the video, the photo that we saw of him working out, he was holding like a bar. So he was doing things with his hand. I'm not going to overthink this. What I hope happens is that people are a little bit nervous about Scottie, and instead of being 31% owned, he is like 22% owned, and we get that little bit of a discount. I think that is just fine. I'm happy to do that. The other 3 golfers in this 10K range, Rory McIlroy, Collin Morikawa, and Ludwig Åberg, are all interesting for different ways. Obviously, so Rory, I guess, is going to get there a little bit later than normal, because he's going to play TGL on Tuesday night and then fly to Pebble Beach right after, I suppose, because he's going to be in Palm Springs. If you look at his history at this event, it's not very good, but he's only played here twice, a miscut in 2018 and a T66 here last year. The other thing that I want to make sure that I do is I'm actually going to put in Pebble Beach, because this should give us the US Open. Yeah. Okay. So he has played 2 different US Opens at Pebble Beach. 2010, he missed the cut. Don't even worry about that. T9 in 2019. So he has played here 3 times in the last 6 years, a T9, a miscut, and a T66. I am probably I just think there are better spots for Rory McIlroy. If he wins this week and he hits all of his wedges close and he shows off this great short game and this hot putter, like, awesome. But Rory McIlroy's weapon to me is the driver. It's the club that he gains 3, 4, 5, 6 strokes off the tee with every single week, and that will largely be taken out of his hands. If he beats me from fairway and in, I have been beaten by Rory McIlroy, and that's okay. But I think that there are probably going to be better places to deploy him in the very, very, very near future. Collin Morikawa, again, I am not like, I am buying all of Collin. I've been saying that for 6 months. He is the best player in the world in 2024 who did not win. He played here last year. He finished T14 on paper. This is accuracy and second shots and short game, and like all of that is what goes well for Collin Morikawa. If you look at just the last 36 rounds, do I have this right here? Yeah, here he is. He's gaining about 1.14 strokes gained over his last 36 rounds. He's been phenomenal ball striker. 1.08 of that alone is coming from there. He's about a 0 putter during that time frame, which quite honestly is good. Less likely that he 3-putts this week because the greens are so small, and he has proven to have a savvy bunker game when he gets stuck in those positions. A lot of creativity, more creativity than he gets credit for. Ludwig is also quite interesting. So he played here last year, finished runner-up. He was, according to him, actively vomiting during the round over the final 2 rounds of the Farmers Insurance Open. Ill, after getting off to a great start, after being in the lead through, I think definitely through the first round, probably through the first 2, and then he really struggles over the final 2 rounds. This is a great golf course for him. He drives it straight and accurate. He won't be able to hit it as far in some places, but the distance will come into play on second shots, which he's very savvy with. I worry about some of the putting stuff, because even in the second round where he gained strokes to the field at Torrey, he lost a stroke and a half putting, and we're going to get Poana greens again on West Coast Poana again this week. I also want to see what people are going to do with him. Are they going to be concerned? Are they just going to play other guys? So We'll know more Wednesday during the live chat, 3 p.m. Eastern time, Rick Run Good YouTube channel. We'll know what the projected ownership numbers are. But as of right now, I think it's Scotty, no problem. As much Colin as you can get. We'll see what they do with Ludwig, right? If Ludwig comes in super under-owned because everybody wants to get to JT and Hideki and whatever, that is fine. But I'll wait and see on that. But I probably rank them Scotty, Colin, Ludwig, Rory, and of course, that is all relative. They're all great plays, but we cannot play them all. So we've got to figure something out. I'm sorry. And Ludwig was actually, I think I lumped Ludwig in there. I'm sorry. Ludwig was 9,900. I did. I lumped him in with the 10K guys. That's on me. He's actually a 9K guy, but point still stands. The rest of this 9K range. So what I think you're going to get is a very, very popular Justin Thomas, and that's fine. Colin and Justin Thomas are the two guys that I've been saying, like, buying the most stock in 2025. I don't need to go through and repeat all of that again. He finished T6 here last year. I'll pull up his Pebble numbers. Whoops. Misclicked there. I'll pull up his Pebble numbers. At the US Open, he missed the cut in 2019. It's 5 years ago, 6 years ago, almost. You could decide what you want, but he's got miscut, T6, 3 trips in 10 years. He is, I wonder if he is going to hit that long driver again. He's got the longer, you don't need that here. I don't want him to get too frisky off the tee. Lean into your strengths, which is the second shot. He's actually putted well at both the Century and the American Express in measured rounds. I am still worried about the putter, especially on Poana, but I think he is going to be incredibly popular. And if he is, I will probably pass because there are concerns about him getting too frisky off the tee and the putter still not making it work, but I think he's a very good option. I would probably rather look at Hideki and Tommy Fleetwood here. So for a couple of reasons, Hideki to start 2025, has been one of the best players in the world. Let me refresh this. I was making some updates. Obviously the win at the Century, played well at the Sony, and was really, I think he played better at Farmers than his T32 would indicate. He finished, with a kind of a losing round on Sunday. Also, I think he got hot on Saturday and then kind of cooled off a little bit and gave a couple of those strokes back. I think that could have very easily have been a top 10 finish for him. I know that you can say that for a lot of different guys, but I believe that's true for Hideki here. So let's do this. Since the start of 2025, right? I still think we're in 2024, by the way. Yeah, Colin's got 5 rounds. He's gaining 3.74 strokes per round. Actually, that's probably counting a TGL round as well, which does not go into his stats. So it counts as 5, but I'll fix that. But it's there's only 4 that are going into the stats. It doesn't impact his stats at all. Rory McIlroy 3.01, Hideki 2.42. And he's played the most, right? He's played a bunch of golf this year already. Let's look at his history here. 71st last year. I'll just click majors and see what he did in that 19 US Open. T21, gained strokes putting that week. I think that people are going to play JT instead of play Hideki, and I would have no problem with that and go get the best player of the year so far at a golf course that, he's got a very, very savvy short game. The putter's been better, and he's maybe the best ball striker in the world. Tommy Fleetwood's the other one here. So we have not seen Tommy Fleetwood on the PGA Tour since September, the Tour Championship. Now, this is, hat tip to RickRunGood.com. Let me pat myself on the back. Let me toot my own horn. I cover 6 tours and have the strokes gain data for Live and the DP World Tour and all that stuff, right? So if you're looking at only PGA Tour data, you have missed the last 7 starts for Tommy Fleetwood, in which he has been spectacular. The worst start during that stretch was a T21. He has gained at least 5 strokes to the field in all but one of those events. And the one that he didn't was a small field DP World Tour Championship where he finished T16. 2 third-place finishes, a 6th-place finish. Tommy has been awesome. So I have no qualms about going to Tommy here. Finished T31 here last year. That 2019 US Open, he finished. Where are you, Tommy? Let's go back a little bit more. T65. So a couple of made cuts, but nothing spectacular to write home about. He gains throughout the bag. He's going to find a way. He's going to find fairways. He's probably going to pick up strokes on approach. Very good short game. The putter has not been as good as I'd like to see, but small greens, probably going to give himself a lot of opportunities. I think he's just out of people's brains, especially when you can play Sung J M for $100 cheaper. Boy, the 8K range is really packed with guys. I think there's a lot to like here. Jason Day will likely be a popular one and done option. I understand why. He has been so good from tee to green each of the last 2 weeks. He has lost the putter. In 2025, he's probably one of the worst putters that we have. He lost 3 strokes putting at the Century, 1.5 at the American Express. That was only 2 measured rounds, and then 5.7 at Farmers, and that was only 3 measured rounds. The fact that he even has a T40, a T3, and a T32 putting like that is jarring. The other jarring part is he's a very good putter. Before this streak of 3 in a row, he gained strokes putting in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Do I have to keep going? I guess I do at this point. 16 back to the Houston Open, 17, 18 in a row. Okay. So what breaks first? Is he just all of a sudden a bad putter? I doubt that. The tee to green play has been so darn good. His history here, between this week and last week, Jason Day has a career between these 2 golf courses that other guys would trade for. No wins. Look at all these top 10s. So this goes back to 2008. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 top 10s. I didn't even count his T11, his T14, doesn't get his T21 in there. He's never missed the cut. I am going to assume he is not the worst putter of 2025, and he is all of a sudden he's forgotten how to putt. Jason, I'm going right back to Jason Day. $8,900 is a good price. Great course history. I will probably play him in a lot of one and dones, and we'll see what happens from there. The other one that I want to do a deep dive on is Victor Hovland, because if you look at his history at Pebble Beach, you're going to hear a lot about it this week, because he also won the amateur here. So you're going to hear that. So we had the T12 in 2019, the T38 in 2020, the T13 in 2023, and then the T58 last year. So he has actually played Pebble Beach more frequently in the last 5 years than a lot of other guys in this field have. The problem that we've got going on right now is honestly a lot of things. The BMW Championship, he lost strokes off the tee. He lost strokes off the tee. Tour Championship, he lost strokes off the tee in Dubai. That's 3 events in a row. That is concerning. That is usually a very, very strong suit of his. He lost strokes on approach at both the Century and in Dubai. Again, usually a strong bit for him. The other problem that we have is he's now, back to losing multiple strokes around the green almost every single week. So when you are, maybe it'll be better for him because he doesn't have to hit driver and he can club down a little bit, though he is very aggressive. If he is missing greens, I think we might run into a problem here. And I'm not sure his game is sharp enough, ball striking wise, to just assume he's going to hit more greens than everybody else. I'm not sure there's data to back that up. Even going into Pebble Beach last year, there's a couple of events where we don't have the strokes gain data, but a much better ball striker going into this event in previous years. Will Zalatoris is here, and we're seeing a really good stat profile from Will. He's only played twice in 2025, T26 at the Century, T12 at the American Express. The 2 measured rounds that he had at the Stadium course were both pretty solid. Tee to green plays back. Putter is looking better. He's using that broomstick. He's made the cut here in each of his last 2 trips, but they were 2018 and 2021. No finish inside the top 50. I think it's a decent spot. I'm like a 6 out of 10. Nothing special. Maverick McNeely. T5 runner-up here in 2 years. We know that he grew up right here, right? He played this course a lot growing up. He's playing the best golf he's ever played right now. Again, kind of good, not great. Probably prefer Will Zalatoris a little bit, but nothing crazy. Sepp Straka. Sepp Straka's $8,000. I know it's hard to follow up a win for some guys, but he's won a couple of times in the past, so this shouldn't be completely new for him. It is not the immediate following week. He won 2 weeks ago. Look at his numbers. His ball striking numbers dating back to the Spanish Open have been splendid. He's gained strokes both off the tee and on approach in 6 straight. Okay, both of those, both ball striking categories. He's gained with the putter in 4 out of his last 5. The short game, I do worry about. You know, he picks up less than a stroke around the green at the American Express and wins the golf tournament. He usually punts it away there. We need that solid short game again, which is what he did last year. He finished T26 last year. Remember, last year was also only 3 rounds. Remember that Wyndham Clark, they got washed. Wyndham Clark won it after 54 holes. They just could never get it in again. So the numbers are for only three rounds there. But $8,000? $8,000 for Sepp Straka? He was 7,600 when he won. He was 8,000 the week before that at the Sony. Yeah, I think we're kind of rolling back out with Sepp. The 7K range. Oh my goodness. So there's a lot to talk about here. Jordan Spieth is back. Jordan Spieth got surgery on the wrist in the fall. He is back. We've not seen him since August. I'm sick in the head, but like I'm in. $7,900. If he's healthy and starts playing well again, you're not going to see $7,900 for very long. The argument is that he had, in 2024, the best driving season he's ever had. He also had a really good approach year for a lot of it, a really high upside approach year. The places where he struggled were around the green and with the putter. We know that he was dealing with the injury. If the injury, fixed it, right? If he's healthy, if he doesn't have that subconscious concern about hitting the ground, like he said he had last year, and he's healthy, you expect a lot of improvement out of these numbers. If he can retain 75% off the tee and get back to his baseline in some of the other areas, that's a huge improvement that's coming. The other thing is, this is the spot, right? You know, this is the spot where he's won. He's got a runner-up finish. He has a bunch of top 10s, a bunch of top 7s. He's never missed the cut here. This is the spot for him. So I'm trying to be early. You know, if he was going to come back at Pebble or Colonial or whatever, I was going to be early. If he was going to come back at some place that's really bad for him, like probably last week, I would not be that interested. But the timing of it feels like it's about right. We're going to learn a lot about Max Grazerman this week. I think we're going to learn a ton about Max Grazerman this week. Hasn't played in this event before. His 2 strengths are probably going to be a little bit hindered this week. He's not going to be able to bomb it off the tee. He can still putt well, but it's Poana and there's smaller greens. It might not be as advantageous for him. And then the 2 areas that he struggles in sometimes around the green and approach play are going to be magnified. If he finds a way, I'll call it like a top 25. If he finds a way into the top 25, I think that is a big win for Max. Probably doesn't get a lot of investment from me, but we're going to learn a lot. He's an X factor. And if he is for some reason, like 5% in terms of projected ownership when we get there on Wednesday, then I would be interested, because I do really love the talent. And speaking of talent, Adam Scott just has not aged a moment. He has only played here a handful of times in the last 15 years. Most recently was last year. He finished T20. The ball striking numbers continue to be really sound. The around the green play and the putter's had a couple of bad weeks, and you can throw out the President's Cup if you don't want to take that into consideration, and that's fine. But outside of those 3 weeks, the putter's been really good dating back to the US Open at Pinehurst. Around the green play has been really good. This is a very strong price for somebody that I think has top 5 upside in this field. And then, what do you do in the middle of this range? You've got Harris English, who's coming off a win, probably going to pass. You've got Rasmus Højgaard, who's finally kind of you're getting a lot of these guys coming over and starting to make their debuts a little bit. I think he's got incredible talent and upside. You can see it from his results here. He hasn't finished outside, or he's only finished outside the top 15 once in his last 6, and that was a T32. Then you have JT Poston and Max Homa. So JT Poston on paper, this should be a pretty good spot for him. Finished T20 here last year. It is accuracy off the tee. It is a lot of wedges, and it's kind of short game and putter. He has not putted well in 2025. Another guy that you can say that about. But again, we're trying to squeeze a little juice out of here. I'm going to JT Poston. What do you do with Max Homa? He burned me. He burned everybody last week. Was miserable in round one. He was even worse in round two. And when they had the wind delay, he called it and just withdrew. He also said he was ill, and that was something that a lot of guys were dealing with. So if you are forgiving Ludwig for being ill, are you forgiving Max Homa for being ill? Because before that start, he had picked up strokes off the tee in 5 straight. He actually picked up strokes off the tee in the only round that goes into his stats. His approach play had been getting better. The short game had been getting better. The putter was still a problem, but it was, we knew that. So if we forgive the illness for some, we kind of have to forgive it for all, if you believe it. 3 out of his last 4 trips have been top 15s here. I'm of the thought process that if you played Max Homa last week and got burned, you kind of have to play him again. Or I think you should play him again. Much cheaper this time around. If we just wipe that one off, it's still a pretty decent lead-in form. So, spend your money however you want to spend your money, but that is something that I'm probably going to have to wrestle with this week. The bottom of the 7K range has some pretty stout options here. We talk a lot about Davis Thompson and JJ Spawn. Pretty bullish on those guys. I will remind you again of Harry Hall, who's $7,300 and refuses to go away. Short game is the best part of his skill set, and he's gotten much better in the long game. Again, even the American Express T21 very quietly, right? So he has not finished outside the top 25 since the Black Desert Championship, where he finished T35. So the stuff that we saw in the fall continued into the new year. Very, very good sign for Harry Hall backers. So that at $7,300 seems a little too good to pass up. The 6K range is where I think we get our first kind of tangible drop off in talent, and we've got to be really selective here. So the guys that I point out, so the 2 guys that played well last week, the runner up in the 3rd place finish from Sam Stevens and Andrew Novak, I always like to look at how they did it. So the Sam Stevens profile, and again, only 3 measured rounds here, is bonkers good. It picks up 10 strokes from tee to green, 3.5 off the tee, 4 on approach, 2.7 around the green, and really just 1 with the putter. Again, all over 3 rounds. And you look at and see how sustainable is that? Well, he's a pretty solid tee to green player. He had picked up strokes, obviously not 10, but he picked up strokes from tee to green in 4 of 5 prior to last week. And some of them were pretty big. Shriners 4.3, RSM 3.7. That's only 3 measured rounds. Sony Open, he picked up 4 to start the year. So this is a pretty good stat profile. He played here 2 years ago. That was a full field event and finished T34, excuse me. So, I think if you want to go back to one of these guys, I think it's Sam Stevens. If you look at Andrew Novak's profile, it is, it's good. I don't think it looks as good. So he picked up 6.2 from tee to green, which means he had a very, very good putter. He picked up 4 strokes putting. That's his best putting performance since the John Deere. He's normally a negative putter. We know he drops that like 50-footer very early in round 4, and he still only picked up 0.4 strokes putting that day. That is probably a little bit unsustainable. The approach play, yes, he is capable of doing that, but he had lost strokes on approach in 3 straight prior to that. This one just, I think it's good, not great, where I think the other guys, or Sam Stevens' profile looks a lot better. Outside of those guys, Nico Echeverria is here. I'm still optimistic about the next kind of run for him, but cautiously optimistic. The other 2 that I think are probably more interesting are Nick Dunlap, who has been very good from fairway through green. So both the Sony Open and the American Express, he picked up strokes on approach, around the green, and putting. He's been horrible off the tee, just miserable off the tee. What I'm hoping for here is a club down situation. Stop hitting driver everywhere and go hit like whatever your most precision based club is going to be. Finished dead last year. So this is, remember, he won, I think this is the first event he played after his win last year, and he finished dead last. Now, like, I'm not going to beat him up for that. There's a lot that has changed since then. I just need him to be a 0 off the tee and then do what he did the last 2 weeks everywhere else. The other guy that I kind of just shook my head at was Lucas Glover. I'm not a Lucas Glover guy. I think that a lot of the stuff that he does looks pretty unsustainable. I think that there are more narrow pathways to the top of the board for Lucas Glover than other guys, but he is nearly minimum priced. He is $6,100 and he can actually win golf tournaments. Lucas Glover actually wins golf tournaments. Lucas Glover actually finishes inside the top 5 of golf tournaments. When you look at other guys that are down here, Jake Knapp hasn't contended in a golf tournament in what feels like a year. Brendan Todd, I feel like he hasn't contended in a year. Adam Hadwin, Patrick Rogers, Matthew Pavone in a year. EVR, Seamus Power, it's been a year. Lucas Glover actually wins or finishes inside the top 5. And when you say, okay, Lucas, play out of the fairway, that's what he does. Hit your wedges well, hit your second shots well, boom, great. Now get up and down. Well, he's picked up strokes around the green in 5 out of 7. He has picked up strokes putting in 5 of 6. Very, very streaky golfer. He's on a streak right now. Since the fall started, he's missed 1 cut. That was the American Express. And he's got multiple top 3 finishes, a top 15, a top 25, 2 top 25s, top 30, etc. So I think that he can actually win a golf tournament. So that's why he makes the list. Let's see what the model has to say. So we're going to run a model here. Again, you can put your 100 weights on anything that you want. We are going to do, let's start in the opposite direction. We're going to say short courses for 10 and course history at Pebble Beach for 10. Now we are going to go to putting on Poana for 12 and then just strokes gained putting last 24 for 10. So that's 22 there. Then for driving, we're going to do driving accuracy for 15. Then we're going to do approach for, how many do I have left? 43. So we're going to do just kind of like greens and regulation and then 125 and in. And then we're going to put our last 18 on, should we do it on scrambling or strokes gained around the green? We could do a little bit of both. Scrambling and then strokes gained around the green. Okay. That's a lot. My number 1 golfer is Scotty Scheffler. No surprise. Very, very difficult to make a model that does not have Scotty being number 1. Denny McCarthy's number 2. Why is that? Very good around the greens, good at accuracy. Pretty good from these wedge departments. I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but let's do a little bit of a quick dive on Denny. T16 at the Sony, T46 at the Century. Okay. I mean, since the Open, he's been decent. Losing mostly strokes off the tee, but if he can just kind of be accurate instead of long and lean into the rest of his game. Okay, I could see that. What's his history here? Wow, pretty good. So T26 last year, T4, that's the full field event, and then T12 in his last 3 years. Okay, I get it, model. I get it. Morikawa 3, Cantlay 4, Bo Hostler 5. Yeah, Bo Hostler's been low-key pretty good around here. Ben Griffin 6, a lot of around the green stuff there. Henley 7, Todd 8, Tommy Fleetwood 9, and Justin Thomas 10. Look at Lucas Glover. Lucas Glover is 13th in my model. He's $100 more than the minimum. Brendan Todd is actually the minimum, but I really do not like playing Brendan Todd. Let's just very, very quickly here. Yeah, I mean, come on. This is like a masterclass in being good at the 6 things that I chose, but just being so bad everywhere else that it doesn't really ever matter. Yeah, that's No, I'd rather play Lucas Glover, which ensures that Brendan Todd wins this golf tournament. Okay, again, last call. Let's either fill this one and done and ask for $1 million next year and start it at the Century, or have a massive overlay and I'll take advantage of it. One or the other, I guess, is where we're headed here. Best of luck this week. I'm stoked for you. The links for everything that you need are in the description. I will see you guys soon. Goodbye.